Hello and welcome back to Rich Biz Life's Adventures. Now in the last video, last week you saw us unboxing the Martech Air Suspension. Now this week we're going to be setting about installing it, and we're going to kick off with installing the dials into the front fascia that I'm going to mount just above the ashtray, just below the radio and heater controls. So let's get started. We're going to head inside now because it's a bit cold out here. So I've measured where that goes in the dashboard, and they're both coming up as 60mm, and that's 60mm as well. So then what I did is I measured that, and that's coming up as 80mm. So 60 take away 80 is of course 20, and I want to cut it to make that so that these are in the centre. So half of, if I cut the same amount off each side, so if I want to cut 20 off in total, I'll cut 10mm off each side. So if I set that to 10mm like that, lock it off so that can't go. As you can see, look, it's put some lines on there as it's showing up, and then all you do is you run that down there, and same on there, and then that's cut. That's marked off 10mm either side, and when I lay that back on there, look, that's smack on them marks. So that means now I can run my little disc cutter down either side of those and trim them down. Now of course I can't use this to do the length, it's not long enough, not long enough on that either. So I'm going to have to do it the old fashioned way and lay it on there and just equal the distance out, and then trim off the distance. Okay, it works out that the end of them, to equal it out, is exactly the outside of them holes, which is going to bugger it up for having a nice rounded corner, but it is what it is. Having said that though, no it won't, because it's further down, so I can still grind a corner onto it, nice soft corner. This is aluminium, it's been powder coated black. There, so now, don't know if that's showing up very well on camera. Now I've marked that out and I can cut that, and I know that these holes here are in the middle of that. So I'll go and trim that down now and see what it looks like. Okay, so got that all trimmed down. What I also need to do is drill a small hole in each corner to secure it into the dashboard. I've only just realised, I don't know if that's picking up on camera, but it's got a little Martech logo in the actual gauges there. That's good, isn't it? And then along the top here it says Martech Air Suspension. I've drilled 4 holes back in the corners again and secured it to this plastic thing that was in here. Now I could have just melted that metal face, or the aluminium face, in there, but there's very little lip for me to have secured it, and I thought I'm going to struggle securing it there. So I thought, well, I might as well screw the plate to this plastic bit, and I can just slot that in place and it will hold itself in. Right, and also I've cut the bottom out. The reason I cut the bottom out is for all the pipes and wires to go through. Yes, I could have just put small holes, but you don't see this, and I thought, well, the less chance there are of pipes and wires chafing on like a smaller hole, I thought the better. Okay, so I'm going to start sort of plumbing in the connectors for the pipes. This is what we want, number 6. Okay, so I'm going to deal with the red piping first. So forget the bit that comes from the compressor to the T-piece, because I'll do that as and when I start installing it in the actual van. What I'm concerned with is these 2 red pipes coming from either side of the T-piece down to the lower section of the switches. I say lower section, it's actually for raising it. And then we've got the blue line, which would be the, as you're looking at it, the right hand side, from the gauge to one side of the T-piece, and then from the other side of the T-piece to the other side of the switches. And then on the other side, which would be opposite side to that, is the black piping, again from the T-piece to the gauge, and from the T-piece to the lowering side of the switch. Again, not worried about these pipes here at the moment, from the T-piece to the airbags. I'm really not concerned with those at the moment until I actually get installing. You've got delivery and supply. Supply is from the compressor, delivery is delivery to your airbags. I'm going to put all the gauges in now and get them squared up as well. That way then it'd be easier, I think, to plumb this in. So this is the bottom, that's the top. So when I put the gauges in, I've got to make sure that's sitting square like that. And then you get these brackets that go on there and then mount over there, and you get the two little nuts, two little 7mm nuts, they go on there. And it's easy to sort of realign that then, making sure that these are level, and I know the gauge will be level then, so equal distance from the top. So now I can use my 7mm spanner and just tighten them down. Okay, I'm happy with how tight they are, and you can't rotate that. And now I know that's the bottom and that's sitting nice and level. So that'll be down, that'll be up, down, up, down, up. So that's that gauge in, nice and secure. I'll do this one as well. And that feels about the same to me now. So now I've got that at the bottom, that at the bottom, that's down, down, up, up. Yeah, it looks nice and neat, doesn't it, and flush. So now I can put these pipes on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it so that T-piece is heading towards this, so that it's a softer curve between the two. Oh, nearly. You see that? Because I've got this on the end, I wouldn't have got that over. So that on first. All the way home. Making sure that's rotated round to that. Yeah, and then I'll do the same on this one. And that's that. So now I've just got to go from there to this one that's not got the terminals next to it, from there to there, there to there. Yeah? And all this will fit in there like that. Yeah? Now looking at this, something I never took into account. Because of this bracket, I might have to notch a little bit out of here. You see what I mean? Look, can you see that on camera? That bracket there is just going to hit that bit of plastic, so I'm going to have to just use my little finger sander and take a notch out of there, and the same on this side. First I'm going to cut some pipe to go from there and around into there. That end on, and then measure that. So you have to have that quite lengthy, because if I made that shorter it might kink that, but I think with that being that length I'll be good to go. Again, took the knurly bit off, slide it onto the pipe, push that on until it's all the way home. Being sure not to cross thread it on there as tight as I can with my fingers, and that's that. Probably could have done that pipe a little bit shorter because it's leaning that out, so on this one I'll correct that and make it a little bit shorter, I think. Oh, now let's see if you guys can spot the mistake I've made. Can you spot it? This side should be black, shouldn't it? Now I'm not going to worry about it too much for that little bit. I'm going to leave that blue so I don't waste pipe. But for this bit I'm going to do it black as it should be. Didn't hear none of you guys shouting, "Oi Richard, that should be black." Right, let me get some black pipe and I'll do that. Onto the one that's not got the terminals. Push that on until it's all the way home. And I said I can do this one a bit shorter, didn't I? About there. These things are really good. They're cutting that off nice and square and precise. Take the nail bit off, put it onto the pipe, flex it round, push it till it's all the way home and sitting down on the base. Tight as I can with my fingers. See, because I made that one a little bit shorter, it's just sitting that little bit neater. Now potentially I could cut that off and reduce that down. I might do that. I'm going to do that. I don't like it. My OCD is kicking in and I don't like the fact that that's pushing, like, do you know what I mean? Okay, it's unfortunate about that bit being blue. It would have looked better black. It would look like it's meant to be there, but it is what it is. That'd be fine. Before I go much further, I'm just going to show you how to put these wiring terminals on, because I think that might be difficult to show you once I've got it all together. So I'm going to get the wire in and show you how to connect that up.
and you've got your live piggybacked, and your earth piggybacked. Do you know what I mean? Piggybacked with a fly wire. Then you've got another earth. I don't know what that's for. I don't need it, but I'm going to leave it there in case I ever do need it. If I ever want to put lights to these or anything like that, I know I've got an earth there, and then all I've got to do is run a live to run lights in these. So the red wire goes to, if you like, the opposite side to the switch. So as you look at it that way, the red wire will go on there, and then the white wire will go on there and there. So I'll just show you that now. So you would basically do the white wire to there and there, and the red wire will go on there and there. Basically inside these valve switches there's a little micro, so as you do that up to make it go up, it will trip that relay that's in situ and kick the compressor in to make it pump in air, and it will take air from this pipe here through this switch around and into the airbag. That'll go off then to the airbag and increase the pressure, and because that's connected to the gauge, you'll also see the pressure on this increase, and so on with this one. So I've had to show you that because I think it would be difficult for me to show you that once we've got it all installed in the dash and so on. And then I've got to grind out that plastic bit. So I'll take this off, this wiring off. I just wanted to show you while it was clear and obvious. Okay. Red one on there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do the other end of the red pipe on there, and then I know I can flex it round. My dog's barking for some reason. A little pug, very, not a very scary bark. Right, so that's on there. And that's that. Got to figure out how long I need these, but keeping it as short as possible. So if that was on there, they need to be quite long, don't they? That there, I think. Yeah, like that. So I'll get that trimmed up. I'll give it a little bit extra just in case. Put them out. Line that up with that one. And do the same so I know they're the same length, just to make it neat. Very difficult to hold this and make it the same length. Right, no going back now, is it? Right, not forgetting my knurled finials, however you want to call them, or compression fitting bits. All the way home. And all the way home. That's better, isn't it? It's quite long, but if it means I'll get better airflow. As tight as I can. Again on this side. As tight as I can. That's better. I've got no kinkage now. So that piece of the T there will go straight off to the compressor, and each one of these will go straight off to each representative airbag. So that's all. It doesn't come, I'm quite glad it don't come built up, because I've had to take it apart again because I've had to remanufacture this. And I think with that textured bit, I don't know where that's coming up, but with that textured bit, I think it looks quite nice rather than it being a shinier. Do you know what I mean? It'll match in with the texture of the like radio surround and things like that. I'm happy with that. Very happy. Right, so now what I need to do is I need to grind back this in there so that it will go back. I could potentially just make it have it, but it looks a bit bodgy, doesn't it? If I left a gap in there, don't know how well that's coming out on camera. You see the little gap, it won't go all the way home. So I'm going to grind that out. Okay, I've butchered that about. Don't know where it's showing up. Butchered it about, and the same on that side. Again, don't know how well that's showing up on camera, but it's enough for that to clear. So now I can set about screwing this fascia back to this. Don't know how well I can do this with keeping you in camera shot, because this is curved. You do have to put it a bit under tension. I might have to just show you. Once I've done it. There, and I think that looks very neat. So that'll be down, down, up, up, and then when I put it up, this pressure would increase. When I let it down, it will decrease. And likewise with this one. And that just looks very neat, and that just click in. I haven't got to screw that in place or anything now. It is one of them where I've made this more difficult than it should have been. I could have done it a lot easier, but I wanted it a little bit neater. Okay, I just got home from work and it's starting to get a bit dark, so I've got my light rigged up, and I've took the battery compartment out, the lid, to see if I could fit this pump in there, or to see if I have to squeeze it in under the seat somewhere. I don't really want to put it under the driver's seat, in all fairness. You know, the amount of times I'm going to need to take this battery out is minimal. That's a brand new battery, and I think, you know, if I get 4 years out of that, then that's great. That does get maintained off the Victron Multiplus. It delivers 1.5 amps to that whilst it's hooked up, so that's being kept active all winter anyway. So it will fit in there quite easily. Now the difficult bit is, how do I make a bracket for that to sit level without it jiggling around, but at the same time being able to secure the battery, because the bracket for the battery is down there. I'm going to take that out, make a bracket for it, relocate the breather, and that should bring it over enough to the battery to aid this compressor, give it plenty of room around there to breathe, Plus, if I ever wanted to, I could just undo the two 10mm for the battery bracket and the pump bracket. This is on a flexi, so that isn't going to, you know, encroach on the pipes too much. You know, it'll flex and come out the way if I ever wanted to take the battery out. Okay, as you saw from the photos, I had to modify this plastic bit. I had to cut a section out just for it to sit down lower and flat. I made a little aluminium plate, and then I had some like fake aluminium checker plate foam padding that I put on there just to aid in vibrations, and then I screwed it down to the aluminium plate, and it goes through the aluminium plate and into the plastic bit there, and then in this side it goes through the aluminium plate and into the plastic, and then it overhangs this side and screws into there like that. So that's nice and secure now. I haven't got to relocate the battery breather. I just had to untuck it from another bit of plastic. It goes through out this spigot and into that hole in the floor, and that's nice and secure now, and I can put it in and out with the battery as I see fit. So that go on there like that, so that's holding the battery in now other than putting the bolts in. I can still put the battery breather pipe in if I can get to the pipe. I might have to put a longer piece of pipe in. Yeah, I've got to put a longer piece of pipe in. It's not quite long enough now because it's had to reroute. And then got these bolts here that hold that bracket in. Just get it back in focus. Drop those in on that bracket. Like that. And the same on this other one. And then screw it back in. I'm not going to screw it in because I've still got to lengthen that breather pipe for the battery, but that will be nice and secure then, and the battery will be nice and secure, and I've not taken up any extra space. There's still plenty of room around that compressor to breathe so it doesn't overheat, and because that's only thin walled plastic, that should stay relatively cool in that area, and that is hanging down the underside of the vehicle. So that compressor, I'm quite happy that it's not going to get hot. I've got to put a breather pipe on here, put a breather pipe on there in order for the air filter for the air intake, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to bring that up higher here. I could run a pipe up and out here and shove it up into the dash. So this pipe here will go to the main feed of the compressor, the red lines, and then the other two lines for left and right, the blue and black, will come down under the underside of the dash across here, and then what I'll do is I'll put some holes somewhere and then take it out and then underside of the van. Okay guys, so that's all in, mounted, nice and stiff. I'll put a longer pipe on here now, so that's the battery breather's all in. There's enough room to coil this pipe up in here, and get it connected up. Might even just do something like that and then have the other pipes coming in, or I could bring it round like that and then clamp it to the side there. Right, so got them pipes put on. I've just put some tape on there just to hold them in place. Each one will help each one sort of stay in place and they won't kink up then. It's peed me off a bit that I've put the blue bit of pipe there, but yeah, it's a bit of ADHD kicking in. You ain't going to see it anyway. Right, so I fed that through some conduit, and it comes out down here, and then that'll pull through a little bit, just enough to poke it in the battery tray. I'm going to have to modify the battery tray, I think, because that conduit's a little bit thick. And then I figured, well, the wiring, wherever I put that, the wiring's already got its own like conduit stuff on it, and I can't fit the wiring through there as well. Okay, so I've put the wires in. I showed you a close-up on them before. I've taped the wire to that because I don't want it to pull and then pull the back of that, because they're only push fit terminals. So I figured if I secure it to the pipes, it's going to pull on the pipes as well, making that a bit stronger. And I've put a bit of slack in this end just so that it pulls on that. That way then I'd have less chance of it pulling off these. Okay, so that's the pump side of it all installed. Put that clip on there, look, just hold that pipe away from the positive terminal, although I have got that cover on there anyway. I've left that 30 amp in there at the minute, but I am going to test that, and I'll have a video out soon of testing fuses. Just a quick note on that there, we are overrating our fuses much more than we think, and I bought a tool to show us that we're overrating our fuses, which could be dangerous. But anyway, there's a earth there straight to the battery terminal. These wires here go down to the compressor. Wires come up here up to the gauges. I've got to neaten that up for the radio. Up to the gauges, and then your switches and so on. So when you go down, it will go let out from the bag. I've still got to get the bags connected up, but when you want to go upwards, you just do that. So on the other side, and when you want to go down, it goes. So, it sounds quite noisy at the moment because I haven't got the battery cover on. Okay, so we're outside now, and we're going to get these airbags fitted to the rear end of this crafter, and get the airlines run through to the front. First things first is safety. Get it jacked up, get it up on some axle stands. Let's go. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to spray some lube on the penetrating oil on the drop link nuts, and then a little bit in the bump stop rubber, just to make it a bit easier to get that out. Okay, so now by right, so if I just pull on that, I've seen people using lever bars and that, but I don't think it's really necessary. If you lube it up, it literally just comes out like that. Simple. You don't need to use lever bars and that. They do come out quite easy. I mean, I don't know if these are the original ones, but yeah. Okay, so next thing now is get the chassis plate mounted up underneath there. So you've got this plate here, you just put that up in there, push that up as tight as it will go. You might need to tap it up a little bit actually. I don't know if that's... That's it, and slide that back. It was a bit tight, it weren't going up high enough in order for me to slide that back. But anyway, that's up in there now. And then what I need to do is make sure that them holes are lined up, which is about there. Okay, so we're getting the bolt ready now to go up into that plate, and it's a bolt and a washer, and then got some thread lock on there. Just putting just a drizzle, put that up there, get that plate put up in place. And just do that up. Okay, now as for tightening that, what I think is about 25 Newton meters plus 45 degrees. I think that'll be about right. So I'll just get my little torque wrench. Okay, so I've got my little quarter drive torque wrench. It doesn't have to be massively tight. Now this one you can do tight straight away. So we'll get this one tightened up. That's your 25. You click what you got there, and then we're going to do 45 degrees approximately. Now I would normally do 45 degrees in one go, but that's in my way. So that's about 45 degrees there. So that should be nice and tight now. And with my thread lock on there, that's not going anywhere, is it? Next thing now is the plate that holds the lower section of the bracket. So we've got to undo the drop link bars. I'm going to move the camera now, just so that you see that side of me doing that. And these, if you want to know, are a T55. If you haven't got a T55, you can get them from most motor factors or even Amazon. One out. Okay, so I'm back with the ratchet, doing this from under the arch now. That's why you can't get the extension and the gun in there, because of this drop link. Okay, and then that enables that then to come out the way a bit. You only need a little gap. I'll put you back in the same camera angle as before. Okay, so now we've got the lower bracket to fit. And that just slips in behind the D bush. Put D bush mount. Make sure that arch is sitting over the arch of the axle nice and neatly. Don't worry about too much getting it sat level at the moment, because you've got to get them bolts back in yet. Right, just got to find these bolts. And I'm just going to put a bit of Loctite on there, not a lot, just a couple of little drips. Just got to get that anti-roll bar pushed back up. Into place. It's difficult because I need to be where your camera angle is. I can't really see. You see what I mean about how thick these anti-roll bars are? Look, they're no thicker than my finger. Absolutely useless. Let's do that one up a little bit. Okay, find the other bolt. Again, just a bit of lucky tighty. That's probably a bit much, just wipe a bit off. It needs to be just literally a dab in the threads. So just give everything a wiggle and a jiggle and it soon goes in. Start this off again. I've done it with my fingers. Do a bit with the ratchet.
leave these loose and all the others loose, get them sort of nipped up until you get the weight sat back on the axle, and then once it's done, shuffle the airbag around. I don't need to put the wheel back on, I can jack the jack up, and that'll act as if the weight's back on the axle, which means I can still get in there and tighten everything up. I won't go too mad with them because I want this plate here to be able to move the lower bracket. Okay, you see that's very loose in there now. So what I need to do now is sort of centralise the bottom one, and then I can centralise the top one that way, and then that will make sure this bag is dead level. I've got the weight back on the axle now. It's not a lot of weight because I didn't take a lot off it because I left that jack underneath, but let's just centralise that, and then we'll go around nipping everything up. Okay, so I've tightened them bottom ones now. They're not tight, but they're enough for it not to move. Then what I need to do is just see that can still move. So it sits happy there, so you want it somewhere in between there and there. And then when you look down it, this air spring looks like it's sitting pretty level, so we'll nip them up now. And these, I find it'll twist, as I've seen on other people's, they'll twist as you do it. So just nip one up very loosely, nip the other one up, and gradually do them tighter, and then it'll stay central, it won't twist the bag as you try doing it up. Okay, what I'm going to do, and this one under here, it's a pain in the arse getting underneath. I'm going to tighten it properly. So we'll just nip it first, just with a normal ratchet and socket. Then we'll put the torque wrench one on. And we'll go 25 Newton meters. Click, did you hear that? Yeah? And then we'll go 45 degrees. There, that's that inner one tight now, and I'll do the bottom at the same time. Okay, now I'm going to do this one. In 45 degrees. And then the lower rear one, 25, and then 45 degrees. Okay, so that's the two top ones and the two bottom ones torqued up, 25 Newton meters plus 45. I don't know if that's the correct spec, but to me that seems pretty good. And they're all Loctited, so I know that they're not going anywhere. So next thing I've got to torque up then is this D-bush mount for the anti-roll bar, and that's 110 Newton meters. Okay, so I'll do the bottom one first. Again, you'll hear this one click, might be a bit louder because it's a bigger torque wrench. Right, that's 110. Do the same on the top one. That's 110 as well. So I know the 2 D-bush bolts are tight. The 4 for the airbag, and the one that was in the where the bump stop used to go. So I know now that airbag is all fitted and secured as it should, and the airbag is straight and aligned. Okay, so hopefully I wasn't in your way too much and you got to see it. I've got to fit the other side airbag. I won't bother filming that because you've seen one, you've seen them both, they're exactly the same fitment. Then once they're both fitted, then what I'll do is I'll make my way then to routing the cables. So I'll catch you after I've fitted the other side, and we'll pick up fitting these airline pipes. Okay, so I'm under from the passenger side now. So that's the driver's side one, comes along there in the thinner conduit that you get with it. This is the passenger one. Again, goes all the way around the handbrake cable and then just loops around the bottom of the axle and then in. Took the conduit as much as I can right to the end because I didn't want it to chafe anything on the axle as it loops round, and I've made it as tight to the axle as I can. I don't want that hanging down and risking getting snagged and pulled off, so it's running as tight round under there as I can without it being really tight. Every now and then on these handbrake cables you got some little hooks so you can go on them, and I've cable tied it as well. Now where let me just move the light a bit so it's getting dark. So these are the 2 pipes, blue and black, but they're in the conduit that you get with it. Now for the majority of the run down the vehicle I've used this bigger conduit, 21 mil, something like that. You can get it from Amazon and Wix and things like that, and I've run it all the way down the side of the van through there, and I've basically cable tied it to my hydronic diesel pipe, which is secured to the vehicle with clips and stuff. Then it goes up into the battery box, and then from there I'll show you now where I've done that. Right, so I've had all this battery and that out again, and I've put the 2 pipes going to the back in a thicker conduit like that one, and then I've drilled a hole right down the bottom, threaded the conduit through the bottom of the battery box, and then sealed that up. Fitted that all back in nice and neatly, cable tied these wires back together, and then I've mounted the air filter for the compressor there. Basically I drilled a hole in there, and it's got like a push through thing, so you just push it through and it clips in place and it secures it, and that's about the way, nice and neat. If any moisture's getting up as high as that, I'm underwater, so that's fine where that is. I'm quite happy with that there. The cover that comes down here will cover all that, all the lower part of the dash. So that's all done in there. Now I've just got to modify. This corner. I've just got to bash that about a bit to allow for these extra wide pipes, and then I'm going to sound deaden this as well. Same sort of stuff as what I used on the van walls. I've got a couple of sheets left, and I'll put one on there, I think, just to help keep that resonance down of this panel here. So I'll set about doing that now. Okay, as you can see, I've just dressed and bulged that out a little bit more, just to allow for the thicker pipes and stuff. And it still slots on all the bolts. So that's all in place now. I haven't tightened it down, so I've got to take it off again yet and sound deaden that. I might even sound deaden both sides. Okay, so I've put sound deadening on both sides. That didn't have to go too mad covering the whole thing. Just wanted to, it sounds a lot more dead now, so that should muffle out some of that sound. So I'll put it back on and we'll see what it sounds like. Okay, so got that back on, fits nice round there, sound deadening on there, and then when you put it on now, it's not too bad. And then when I get all the carpet and that back on, that'd be a lot better. So that's it for the airbag install. It's actually quite an easy install, really. Good shout out to Martech for coming together with the sponsorship. You've put together a marvellous kit. It really is easy to install, and the instructions are well laid out and easy to follow. And if I can do it, you guys can do it. So anyway, that just leaves us to road test this now and see if there's any difference, see if we can feel the difference in the quality of ride. So let's go for a ride. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go on a road test. I'm going to do the same road test coming on and off my driveway and everything, with air and without air. So at the moment I've got it completely expelled out, so there's no air in it at all, and you'll see how much this van goes. I mean, look, it's terrible how much it goes just from coming off this driveway. I won't have to go far, but I'm going to do exactly the same road test before and after. I won't show you the full road test, but I'll do certain highlights. So let's get going now. Already feeling a bit nauseous and seasick. These things are awful. Might be a bit of camera shake. That's not the suspension. That's the little jig thing I've got the camera mounted on. Now I have found some upgraded shock absorbers, and it says these are specifically for the 5 ton. Now every time I've looked it says 3/5 ton. So to me, and when you go to Mercedes and stuff, the 3 ton and the 5 ton are the same part numbers. However, I've since found out that there is a 5 ton part number. I don't know, maybe you guys can tell me a bit different, but I found some upgraded, so they're actually upgraded 5 ton shocks. I don't think I'll really tell the difference until I get on the motorway. Now luckily enough we are literally 2 or 3 miles away from the A1M, so I'm going to go up and down that, which means to do this video I've got to do a round trip of about 35 miles to get on a junction and off the junction back and then do it again. It's quite wallowy down here. I don't know if it's picking up on camera how much I'm having to correct my steering. It's not horrible, but in high winds you sort of constantly got your arms locked up and doing it. And I won't do this for effect. I'll do this to show you exactly real world. I'm not going to do this just to make it look worse. But anyway, we're literally about to pull onto the A1M now. We're just at junction 16. Oops. Just at junction 16 we are. Right, so here we go. us being a motorway, I'll be able to get it to 70 mile an hour legally as well. I don't normally do much above 60, 65, but it is worse at higher speed. Right, that's 60. It's 6 gear, 65. It's not a very windy day today. Typical, isn't it? Right, we're at 70 now. Not a very windy day today, so it might not give us a true effect, but you know, you can probably see my hands moving a little bit, and I'm not doing that for effect, considering this is a very calm day. I don't think that's too good. Still at 70 and 68. It drives nice. I just don't like this heavy crosswinds that we get occasionally. Right, we've just come off the A1 end now. We're at the next little town, just up the A1, or down the A1 rather. Speed bump. Yeah, it's very okay, so now this is pulling off the drive again with 2.5 bar of pressure in, and it'll do less of this. It will still do it because it's quite a drastic like roll of the drive and drop curb and stuff like that. But let's just see if you can tell the difference from the camera. Leans a lot less going around the corner, I'll give it that. This is a fairly sharp corner and we're leaning significantly less. Another Sprinter Crafter just gone by. It's going a bit fast, I won't catch it. Less input on my steering. I think that's alright. I think that's a big improvement. It hasn't really changed the ride because I already have 4.9 tons Jones's springs on the back. So I haven't really changed the ride quality, but I've definitely changed the steering, you know, having to put input correction all the time. That's 70 mile an hour. We're about to go past a lorry. And the wind's picked up a bit there. Didn't really feel it. Felt the van sort of shake a bit, but didn't feel it on the steering. Nice. Never going to catch that Sprinter, he's probably gone. steering wheel for a bit longer now. Yeah, it seems a lot better. I'm happy that I've put the kit on, let's put it that way. I don't feel it's a waste of time. It has improved the ride a little bit, it's firmed it, certainly firmed it up a little bit. The corners, it handles a lot better. You know, got less body roll. It's certainly more stable on the motorway than it was. We'll find out when it's a high wind. Can't really tell at this stage because it's not particularly windy. Another roundabout now, I'm off the A1. This is a bigger roundabout, we'll see what the body roll is like on that. Steering feels a bit more precise. I think that's because it's leaning less and the steering's got more of an impact. I mean, it's no sports car, you know, I'm not, like I said, I'm not expecting miracles, but it's got a lot less body roll. So that wraps up this air suspension install and road test vlog. That just leaves me to say, make sure you hit up Martech Air Suspension Systems. I'll put the website now, and if you want 10% discount, make sure you put in the discount code area RichBiz, and that will get you 10% discount. Please make sure you saw them through us. I don't get nothing else from it other than the fact that I've been sponsored. It's just nice for them to know that they've been justified sending me one out, so it all helps with my feedback to them from you guys. So that's it, that's this video. Just leaves me to say, on behalf of Debbie and myself and Martech Air Systems, a very Merry Christmas, and I wish you all the best for the new year. If you like what you're seeing, please like, subscribe and comment. If you really feel like it, click that little bell icon and you get to see all our future videos. And on that note, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.